Chosen One, realize that the very attacks designed to break you have instead forged an unbreakable spirit. The coordinated waves of low energy aimed at your destruction backfired, and the results are now visible to everyone. The reality is undeniable. You have become so powerful, your adversaries activated this version of you now. They are pissed. You are no longer a target. You are the consequence of their failed interference. The real beginning of this has nothing to do with the people who came for you. It begins with who you are. You were different. You always sensed it, not in an arrogant way, but in a quiet, persistent, hard-to-name way. You perceived things that others did not. You felt the energy beneath the surface of situations before you could articulate what you were sensing. You picked up on the intent behind words that seemed perfectly innocent on the outside. You knew things before you had any logical reason to know them, and those knowings kept turning out to be right. That antenna was not something you developed over time. It was something you arrived with, a connection to something deeper than the visible layer of life, a frequency that most people are not tuned into and cannot access. And here is the thing about that frequency that nobody warned you about early enough. It is visible to the wrong people. That kind of light does not stay contained. It radiates outward and draws things toward it. It draws opportunity. It draws aligned people. It draws the kinds of encounters and openings that other people would call luck, but that you have learned to recognize as something more precise. However, and this is the part that was always left out, it also draws the attention of people who feel threatened by what they see in you. People who look at your light and feel a specific burning discomfort because that light reflects back to them everything they have refused to become. You were not doing anything provocative. You were simply living, growing, and moving forward. And that alone, the unrelenting, consistent fact of you existing and expanding, was enough to make certain people decide that you needed to be handled. Let that land. Your existence was the offense, not a single wrong move, not a calculated provocation, just the fact that you kept showing up, kept radiating that frequency, and kept becoming more of yourself. That was the thing they could not forgive. And here is what that tells you about your own power. Before we go any further, people do not organize against the irrelevant. Coordinated opposition requires a target worth targeting. The very fact that multiple forces aligned against you is its own form of confirmation, a twisted, hostile, backwards kind of confirmation, but confirmation nonetheless. Even in their aggression, they were acknowledging what you carry. Hold that, it matters more than you realize. Before they moved against you, they watched. They paid closer attention to your life than most of the people who genuinely loved you. They studied your patterns, your tendencies, your connections, and the places they thought you were soft. They analyzed the season you were in and decided, after all that watching, that they had you figured out. They decided you were manageable. That was the mistake that changed everything about how this ends. What they saw when they looked at you was the surface, a version of you that was still developing, still navigating uncertainty, still in the middle of becoming rather than fully arrived. They confused that incompletion with weakness. They saw you navigating and thought it was struggle. They saw you in the process of becoming and mistook it for instability. What they could not see, because the lens they were using cannot reach that depth, was what sat underneath all of that. Something ancient lives in you. Here is what you need to understand about those stretches. Every single hard passage was a deposit into something you could not yet see being built. The weight itself was the curriculum. The pressure itself was the training. You did not have the full picture yet, but the full picture was being assembled in the dark while you were surviving it. Because you were navigating difficulty, they assumed you had no foundation. But navigation is not weakness, it is intelligence in real-time motion. A person with no foundation does not navigate hard seasons, they collapse in them. You were navigating, which means the foundation was always there, solid and deep, even on the days you could not feel it beneath your feet. They pressed down expecting emptiness and hit bedrock instead. If you recognized yourself in this message, hype this video to guide other chosen ones to this truth. Each time a wave of attacks failed to produce the result they wanted, the response was not to reconsider, The response was to escalate, to go deeper, to call in more support, to increase the pressure, because that is the only logic available to someone operating from fear. If it did not work, do more of it. What that logic never accounts for is what happens to you on the receiving end of all that escalation. You do not keep sending fire at something built to be forged by fire and expect it to melt. Every wave meant to dismantle you was actively configuring you instead. The sustained pressure stripped away everything unnecessary, everything soft, everything sitting on the surface without real root, and left behind something concentrated, dense with tested experience, proven through the pressure itself to be unbreakable. While you were being refined, the people running the campaign against you were standing still. Every hour they invested in trying to hold you down was an hour they did not invest in their own ascent. Every unit of focus they directed toward watching you and scheming against you was a unit that never went toward building anything of their own. Obsession is expensive. It drains your time, your creative energy, and your forward motion, and it produces nothing in return. The trap they built with such confidence was closing around them while they remained convinced it was closing around you. Here is the precision in that. The deeper they went, the more they escalated and doubled down, the more locked in they became. Walking away would have meant admitting that you were larger than anything they had to bring, and pride would not allow that, so they kept coming. And every time they came, the return on that investment transferred directly to you. They were funding your ascension one attack at a time with their own resources. The universe ensured that the people who positioned themselves as obstacles to your rise became the exact instruments of it. Something woke up in you. It did not happen gradually. There was a specific before and after moment, a crossing point that divided who you were on one side from who you became on the other. Maybe it arrived in a dream that felt more real than waking life. Maybe it came as a thought so clear and sourceless that you had no logical explanation for it. Maybe it arrived during a quiet moment alone, in nature, in stillness, when something that had been compressed under the accumulated weight of every attack finally broke through the surface. You started seeing through things, not just the surface of situations, but through them. The patterns that had been running against you became visible all at once, almost absurdly clear. You could feel the energy beneath words before they finished being spoken. You could sense a setup before it fully formed. You could read what was moving in the invisible, the intent beneath the gesture, the calculation behind the smile. And the thing that made this shift so significant was that it did not feel new. It felt like remembering, like a capacity that had always been present, finally surfacing because the conditions had demanded it. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something. But talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action, and real chosen ones are also paying attention. You've noticed it. Chosen One channels getting silenced, videos pulled, voices removed from the platform. The mainstream media is cracking down on us, but we will not give up our voice, and neither should you. That's why joining Destiny Engine is a 360 win. You support your favorite channels and fuel your own rise at the same time. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $7 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. The attacks forced it up. That is the irony that belongs to you permanently. The very perception your adversaries were most afraid you would develop, the ability to see through their moves, to read what was hidden, to stay ahead of what was being constructed against you, was activated by their own campaign. They wanted you blind, and they handed you vision. They were determined to keep you confused, and they forced you to develop clarity that functions in complete darkness, and now they feel it. You do not have to say a word about it or demonstrate it in any way. They feel you seeing them, and that awareness drives a particular kind of panic in people who have been operating under the assumption that their moves were invisible to you. The activation cannot be undone. The perception does not go back to sleep. There is a rank that gets conferred through this kind of testing, not a title anyone hands you, not a ceremony, not a public acknowledgement, but a quiet cosmic recognition from the forces that align with those who have proven themselves under genuine pressure. The divine backing that becomes available to a person who has come through the fire with integrity intact is active in your life now. The attacks that used to penetrate are hitting a wall. What gets sent against you now has a very different return. And alongside the perception came something else. Notice it if you have not fully named it yet. Confidence, not the performed kind, not the kind you manufacture through hype. The settled, grounded kind that simply exists because you have been tested at depth and discovered you are built for the test. You move differently now. You hold your position in a way that is not aggressive but is completely, permanently unshakable. That earned, sealed quality, the calm that cannot be stolen from you, is the thing your adversaries produced in you that they most desperately wish they had not. Let us be precise about who you are right now, not who you were. Who you are today, as a direct result of everything you have been through. You carry something that cannot be purchased, performed, or acquired through any comfortable path. You can only come to possess it by going through exactly what you went through and emerging on the other side with your soul intact. That is the specific, rare, irreplaceable quality of a person who has been pressure tested at the highest level and has proven through surviving it that they do not break. You have become a transmuter, not as an ideology, but as a lived reflex. When something designed to harm arrives, your whole system converts it. Pain becomes clarity, loss becomes space for something greater, opposition becomes forward momentum. This conversion is not something you think your way into anymore. It happens because you have done it enough times that your being does not know any other way to respond. The adversity arrives and the alchemy begins automatically. Look at the evidence across your own life. Every time something collapsed in a way that was designed to be permanent, something better came to fill the space it left. The path that got blocked redirected you toward an opening you would never have found otherwise. The connection that fell apart cleared room for something real. The loss that felt catastrophic revealed itself with distance as the precise clearing that was needed to make space for what was actually meant to come. You now have enough lived evidence to know, not hope, not suspect, but know that what presents as an ending is almost always the beginning of a greater chapter. That knowing permanently changes how you move through challenge. You do not spiral the way you once did. When something hits, a part of you stays still at the center of it, because you have crossed through enough difficult seasons to understand that they always pass, every single one, and that on the other side of each one, something is waiting that could not have been reached without the crossing. Here is the specific thing about this version of you that unsettles the people who tried to produce a different outcome. You do not need to announce yourself. You do not need to declare your power or wave your progress in front of anyone. You simply move forward, consistently, without explanation and without looking back. You build while others observe. You rise while the obsession around you maintains itself. You expand with every season, while the people who tried to stop you stand exactly where they are. The silence of that forward movement, that steady, uninterruptible, unapologetic progress, is the one thing they have no counter for. They can argue with loud resistance, they can mirror back visible frustration, but someone who simply keeps becoming more without stopping, without flinching, and without once turning around to address the people who tried to stop them, that person is ungovernable. That is what you have become. This next part is going to sound straightforward. Resist the impulse to move past it quickly because it sounds familiar. There is an ocean of difference between encountering an idea and actually living inside it. The most powerful thing you possess is your mind, specifically where you choose to point it. Where your attention goes, energy flows. What you consistently water grows. What you feed with your focus becomes the architecture of your life. This is not motivational language. This is the actual operating mechanism of reality, the means by which your experience is built decision by decision, thought by thought, day by day. Here is why your mind is the central weapon in your arsenal, and why your adversaries, despite everything they brought, never had access to it. While they spent their attention focused on bringing you down, they were directing their creative energy, the same force that builds lives and opens futures, toward destruction. They were constructing their own diminishment with the very resource that was supposed to be their advantage. You, in the middle of the fire, learned something different. You learned that even when circumstances were completely outside your control, the direction of your mind was not. You could orient toward the wound or toward the vision. You could water the loss, or you could water what you wanted to grow, and you started choosing the vision, imperfectly, inconsistently at first, but you kept choosing it, and the external world began, piece by piece, to reorganize itself around that orientation. This is the alchemy. You learn to take the sharpness and heat of a painful situation and redirect that energy instead of collapsing under it, not denial, but redirection. As the vision was fed, it grew. As it grew, it became tangible. As it became tangible, your momentum shifted in a way that the people watching you for signs of failure could not explain, because they did not understand the mechanism. They did not know you had learned to control the fuel. Now hear this clearly, because it goes deeper than most people acknowledge. Your mind was always the real target of every attack, not the external circumstances they disrupted, not the connections they poisoned, not the opportunities they tried to block. Those were the visible surface. The actual aim was always your belief, specifically your belief about yourself and what you are worthy of. A person whose belief is intact can lose everything visible and rebuild from zero. A person whose belief is fractured will undermine their own blessings without a single adversary needing to act. The most sophisticated attacks were never the ones you could see. They were the whispers, the suggestions that maybe you were not as capable as you thought, that the good things that came to you were accidents, and that the next level was not meant for you. Your belief held. Under everything that was sent against it, it held, not without being shaken, but it did not break. And that, more than any external outcome, is the reason you are here, still building, still expanding, still becoming more. The real fortress was never breached, and that is everything. You already know this. You have felt it. The people who made a public performance of being done with you are the first ones to notice every single development in your life, every upgrade, every new level, every visible piece of evidence that you are expanding. You have sensed their attention, even when it comes with no direct acknowledgement, just a persistent, almost compulsive awareness of everything you are doing and becoming. Here is the actual reason the watching does not stop. Beneath all the expressed contempt, beneath the performance of indifference, a recognition is happening that they cannot fully suppress. On a level deeper than the narrative they have built about you, they know what you are. They knew it before the campaign against you began, and that knowing is precisely why the campaign began. The attack was never fundamentally about hate. It was about the fear of what they saw in you that they could not access in themselves. And now, after committing fully to the attempt to diminish you, they are watching the thing they feared become more fully, visibly, and undeniably itself. Living inside that is its own consequence. Every time your progress registers, every new thing built, every new level reached, every piece of evidence that the campaign did not work, it demands a fresh reckoning with the fact that they failed. And that reckoning has to be lived with, repeatedly, indefinitely, for as long as you keep rising. Based on the trajectory you are on, that is going to be a very long time. You are not causing that. You are simply living, building, and being you. and that is sufficient to disrupt their entire internal world without any effort on your part. Your existence is the consequence, your expansion is the ongoing verdict, and neither of those things requires any management from you. They are self-executing. Your one instruction here is this: do not shrink to manage how your progress lands on people who chose opposition. Do not make yourself smaller to soften the blow of your own ascent for the benefit of people who worked against it. Your flourishing is not an act of aggression. It is the natural outcome of who you are, operating without interference. Let it be exactly that. There is a pattern written across the full arc of what you have been through, and I need you to see it stated plainly. Every trap they designed to contain you launched you somewhere they could not reach. Not eventually, after a long recovery, directly. Each snare would close, and instead of finding you caught inside it, it would find you on a level that did not even exist from the perspective of where they were standing. You found the opening in the ceiling every single time. You found your lift inside what was meant to be your fall. The opportunity that got deliberately undermined led you towards something you would never have pursued if that particular door had remained open. The connection that was poisoned from the outside, the one whose collapse felt like real loss, cleared the precise space where something genuine was waiting to arrive. The people who were turned against you through the campaign revealed, in the turning, exactly who in your circle was solid. Everyone who left during the pressure was meant to go. Everyone who stayed proved they belonged. The attack performed a sorting that could not have happened any other way. Each trap did work on your behalf, not because the people who set it had any intention of helping you, but because the universe operates as a closed system in which no energy is ultimately wasted. Dark energy directed at a chosen one cannot destroy what that person was built to carry, so instead it clears, removes, and makes the precise space the next level requires. You can look back across your own history and see the map of this. Every move made against you ultimately moved you forward. That is not a consolation framing. That is not you making peace with something bad. That is the plain, documented, evidence truth of how the pattern has operated across your life. Understanding that pattern changes everything about how you move through the challenges still ahead, because you know from your own receipts that there is nothing they can send against you that the universe cannot turn around and use for you. The persistence of the campaign against you, the escalation, the refusal to stand down, accelerated your growth at a pace that no comfortable path could have produced. Ease develops you slowly. Pressure compresses the timeline. What might have unfolded across a long, gradual arc of comfortable progress was instead forced into a concentrated season of intense development that fast-tracked your becoming. They wanted you permanently behind. Instead, they handed you a compression most people never receive, and you came out of it carrying the depth of someone who has lived through many cycles of experience in a fraction of the usual time. They gave you rocket fuel when they were trying to give you an anchor. Everything up to this point has been about understanding what happened and why. This part is about what you do now, and this one is not about them at all. This is entirely about you. You are the asset, you are the source, and the asset demands protection with the same seriousness that any irreplaceable resource demands it. Your energy is not unlimited. It is vast, but it is not unlimited. The common denominator in every attack, every draining interaction, every relationship that cost more than it contributed, and every environment that left you foggy and depleted, was that each one was aimed at your energy. Your energy is where everything originates. It is the raw material of everything you build, manifest, and become. When your energy is scattered, continuously drained, and pulled in too many directions at once, you function at a fraction of your actual capacity. Not stopped, but significantly slowed. You know exactly what this feels like. You have experienced the specific exhaustion that comes from certain interactions, exchanges that leave you emptier than when they started, not because of any physical demand, but because something in them was drawing from your reserves without permission. That is not imagination. That is real, and it is worth taking seriously. There is a decision point on this path that other people will misread when they see you make it. The decision to guard your space. Building a sanctuary means creating a literal, deliberate, protected environment where access to your energy is governed by what genuinely serves your growth. It means you are not perpetually available to every demand placed on your attention. It means you spend real deliberate time in stillness, in nature, in silence, refilling what has been drawn from and returning to your actual frequency. This is stewardship, not withdrawal. It is the maintenance of the most important instrument you possess, which is yourself. A high-capacity instrument requires care proportionate to its output. The higher your calling, the more rigorous that maintenance needs to be. The people who worked to keep you drained were attempting to keep you functioning just barely enough to not collapse, while remaining far enough below your actual potential that your full power would never fully surface. The most direct and powerful act of defiance against everything they sent against you is to fill yourself completely and operate at full capacity. At full capacity, you do not just survive, you create. You do not simply endure, you build. You do not just hold your position, you expand it. The stillness you allow yourself without guilt, the time you spend in nature without apology, the periods of intentional solitude where you let clarity arrive without interference. These are not indulgences, these are your maintenance protocol. This is how you sustain the level you have reached and make room for the next one. Let go of the connections that have been consistently draining without reciprocating. Release the situations that consumed your energy without producing growth. Stop returning to the environments that buzz with low frequency and leave you perpetually off-center, not because you are superior to anyone involved, but because what you carry is worth protecting, and protecting it is a responsibility you owe to everything your becoming is meant to serve. The people who worked to stop your destiny made a fundamental error in their understanding of how destiny operates. Your destiny does not require their cooperation. It does not pause while they scheme. It does not negotiate with their agenda. It does not wait on their approval or wilt in the face of their opposition. Your destiny is a force, and a force does not negotiate with obstacles. It finds the path through. Every door they closed, your purpose found a different entry. Every bridge they burned, your path rebuilt itself around the gap. Every aligned connection they tried to turn, your trajectory replaced with something more suited to where you are actually going. The machinery of your purpose is not something any human opposition can permanently disable. It bends, it flexes, it reroutes, but it does not stop. It has never stopped. Look at where you are standing right now, despite everything that came against you. What is moving toward you now, not eventually, not someday, but now, is the harvest of seeds that were planted in your darkest seasons. The clarity in you is sharpening with every passing period. The synchronicities are multiplying, those precise, undeniable alignments of timing that confirm you are moving in the right direction and that the universe is responding to your frequency. The right people are preparing to enter your life. The right openings are forming in the invisible, readying to become visible at exactly the moment you are positioned to receive them. This is not optimism. This is the completion of a pattern that has operated across the entirety of your experience. Beginning, compression, ascension. It has always moved this way. You are at the ascension point. The one condition is your belief. Specifically, whether you are willing to step fully into what you actually are and stop calibrating your reach to the comfort level of people who were never designed to celebrate you. You were not built for the version of your destiny that fits in a space that other people designated for you. You were built for the version that is actually proportionate to what you carry, the version that requires you to think beyond where you have been thinking, to expect beyond what you have been expecting, and to move toward your purpose without the constant compulsion to make yourself more digestible to people who were never meant to understand you. Setting intention means committing the full weight of your belief behind a direction and then moving before the full path is visible, before the evidence has fully arrived, before you can prove it is coming. It means treating your next level as inevitable rather than aspirational. It means making decisions, investing your resources, and occupying mental and physical space as someone who already knows where they are going, not someone still asking for permission to go there. That shift from hoping your destiny is real to operating inside the certainty of it is when you move from reacting to your life to directing it. From that place, you become permanently and completely ungovernable. The people who came against you thought they were running an offense. They were not. They were running your development program. Every attack was a drill. Every dark season was a curriculum. Every escalation was an advanced module in the exact training you needed to become who you are right now. And you passed, not without being challenged, not without real cost, but you passed. The diploma is the version of you that exists right now, equipped, refined, grounded, backed and moving forward with a momentum that nothing and no one can stop. The version of you that exists today was not the inevitable outcome of the version that existed before the pressure came. That earlier version carried the same light, the same calling, the same destiny, but it had not yet been confirmed at depth. It had not yet developed the perception, the alchemy, the settled knowing that only comes from having been put through what you were put through and remaining whole. The campaign did not create you, but it confirmed you. It revealed to you, to everything watching, to every force that tracks what is real, exactly what you are made of, and what you are made of does not burn. So here is what you do from this moment forward. You move, you set your intention with the full weight of your belief behind it, and you move toward it without apology. You protect your energy with the seriousness it deserves. You guard the gate of your mind against anything that does not serve your ascent. You make time for the stillness, for nature, for silence, because that is where your clearest direction arrives. You release everything that belongs to an older version of you that no longer exists, and you take up the full space of who you actually are, not the edited, minimized, made comfortable for others version, but the full, uncut, completely expressed version, not with arrogance, with the specific, unshakable, earned certainty of someone who has been tested at the deepest level and now knows from lived, documented, receipts on the table experience that they cannot be broken. They activated this version of you, this clear, forged, spiritually backed, energetically protected, destiny-directed version of you. They committed everything they had to preventing this version from existing. They failed, and what they tried to stop is now fully, irrevocably, completely awake and in motion. The quality in you that they despise the most, that exact light, that specific power, that particular frequency that they cannot stand to be in the presence of, is not incidental. It was placed in you on purpose. It is the thing you were sent here to carry. It is what the world needs from you. The very thing they cannot stand is the thing you were made to become. Carry it without apology, without shrinking, without one more moment of making yourself smaller, so that the people who tried to bury you can be comfortable at the sight of you. They are watching anyway. Give them something to see. All praise to the Most High. All honor to every force of light that covered you through every season you were not sure you would survive. All recognition to the adversaries who, without understanding, without intention, and without any idea what they were actually setting in motion, called forward the most powerful version of you that has ever existed. Chosen ones, go be